I think one of the concepts in writing and communication that gets the least sort of deserved respect is that of audience. And that's because in an academic setting, many times you have the exact same audience. It's your teacher or perhaps another student, supposed to be someone who's at your level, but yet doesn't have all of the information that you have. So the idea of writing to your audience can really easily get lost in simply including all of the evidence for your arguments. But in perceiving audience in solely a matter of detail, we lose out on the fact that in real life communication, our audiences often have really significant differences in worldview and life experience and simple personality that will greatly determine how meaningful or easy to understand our message will be to them. And while in school you may be deceived into thinking that the only way you can confuse your audience is by not providing enough information or not following a specific communicative formula, in the real world, all of these things, background and experience and worldview, all can greatly affect how successful your communication is to any other person or how successful their communication is to you. Inherent thought and understanding, that idea of really getting it, is something that's very hard to transmit between people. And so the way that we tend to do it is we take an assumed set of shared understandings and beliefs and use that as sort of a box to contain this idea, to be the context for that idea. So we don't have to explain every single little nuance and detail to a concept, because if we had to do that, we would never be able to stop talking. So when someone chooses their audience, whether they understand it or not, they're making assumptions on what the other party in the conversation or the piece of media is going to agree with and disagree with, and is going to understand and is going to need to have explained to them. And because of this, in most conversations that involve the speaker saying something that's non-trivial, to be able to get to the essence, to the heart of the actual thing they're trying to tell you, you sort of have to pass through all of these layers of assumed knowledge and understanding and agreement before you can find it. They block your entry. And because of this, I like to think of these pieces, these sets of shared assumption, this idea of audience, as kind of a lockbox that stores any piece of information that someone shares with you. Just like a typical lock has a set of tumblers that each need to be pushed up or down a certain amount, but no farther at the same time to be able to open the mechanism and reveal what's inside. We as an audience often need to understand the extent to which the author is implying different things and the reason that the author is implying them, all sort of at the same time, to be able to open it up and reach into what the author is trying to say through it, what the actual point of the author's message is. The combination of our personalities, our experiences, and our worldviews sort of give us a set of keys that we can try to use with any given lockbox of a message that someone passes on to us. Because of this, when someone that shares those elements with us, our background or our personality or our worldview, gives us a piece of information that's wrapped up in those assumptions, it's really easy for us to get to the heart of it really, really quickly, sometimes instantly, sometimes so instantly that it seems obvious to us. On the other hand, when someone who really clashes with us in personality or background or belief gives us a lockbox of a concept, sometimes none of the keys that we have work, and sometimes the keys even get stuck and kind of make it worse than it was at the beginning. I don't think we're doomed, though, to only understanding people that share all of those elements of our key type. We just have to understand that for the people that are really different from us, we have to take a very different approach in trying to get to the essence of what they're saying. Getting to the essence of an argument that doesn't share the fundamentals with us is really, to carry the analogy forward, kind of like just lock-picking the box. You have to go tumbler by tumbler, understanding by understanding, and figure out what all of the assumptions are, what they're intending, so that you can get that perfect fit. Generally, that involves three things: research, effort and time. The nice thing is, once you've picked a lock from a certain kind of person, you have an advantage in understanding people that share that background, that belief, in that personality. You sort of are able to cast a key of that type that you can use as a starter when you're attempting to communicate with other people. Some of us go to the extreme of trying to understand everybody and thinking if we just think hard enough and work long enough, we'll have this like universal ability to communicate with absolutely everyone. And while that may be well-intentioned, it's kind of misguided. Needless to say, with the time and the energy limitations we have in our lives, we can't break every idea lock. We have to be, to a certain extent, kind of selective in what unfamiliar experiences we try to understand at any given time. There's another extreme, though, that I think most of us tend to, especially here online, and that is to only listen to people that present things to us in the way that we like, in the way that's most natural to us, in the way that our keys are equipped to open automatically and easily. And that's a problem that's far more dangerous than it may sound at first blush, because one of the elements of our keys that molds what we like trying to figure out is what we want people to tell us, things that we like to hear. Sometimes the fact that an argument is uncomfortable or inscrutable at first glance is partially a sign that we really do need to figure it out, because it's a blind spot in our lives. Because it's so easy on the internet to find groups of people that agree with us in almost every way imaginable and always present things in a way that's very familiar and comfortable to us. It can be really easy on the internet not to really grow at all. You can try and build a wall around your perception of the world by surrounding yourself with people that agree with you in every single element of those keys, but inevitably you are going to run into someone who doesn't share everything. And when that happens, you can be prepared or you can be unprepared. To be prepared, you have to get used to viewing people that you don't immediately empathize with in a somewhat sympathetic way, understanding that they're rational and actually getting skilled at specifically figuring out the long way around what the assumptions are to their argument. And as you craft starter keys to these variations in essence, you can get much faster at sort of getting through the problems that you may have with someone else and getting to the essence of what they're really trying to say. And this work benefits the expressive side of communication as well. As you might expect, once you've gotten a set of keys from a certain set of essences, you can start to craft locks, sets of assumptions and arguments that make the most inherent sense to a group of people that you're trying to communicate with, even if they at the outset are very, very different than you are. If you don't prepare for those conversations, you're either going to just assume what's inside the box, not really listen, and just be so intent at throwing back your own thoughts that you don't have any sort of conversation actually going on, or you, more likely than not, are going to try and pick to the extremes of the tumblers. You're going to try and use this fake knowledge of strawmen and stereotypes that has by default sort of formed in your mind as the opposite of your opinion. In some cases, the messages that are locked inside the boxes really aren't worth your time, and really experience and discernment will eventually lead you to recognize those from the get-go, to recognize the people that aren't really trying to contribute anything useful besides making themselves feel better and perhaps trying to rile you up. So while you shouldn't waste your life trying to pick-lock every perspective, trying to dissect every diatribe that someone might throw out there, you also should be secure enough in who you are and open enough to see the other perspectives that people have on life, to really spend some time working your way through some of the less easily accessible boxes that get handed to you. This is the process of fathoming. It's not particularly glamorous, and it's often not really all that easy, but in the end, it gives us a great benefit in communicating to others and benefiting from others' perspectives and experiences. This is Jacke Karashae, wishing you many enriching, thought-picking experiences.
With everything I say.